This is part 3 of our series on settings on thunderps.net. If you have any questions about other sections of settings, then go back to the previous videos or go to a future one. So we're looking at our settings screen here, and we're going to go down to credit cards, which is where we had left off. Number one, you can select your credit card methods. These can be set differently for web, tablet, and Windows. Depending on the client you'll be utilizing, only certain methods are available for each of these. So you would select the appropriate method. In all cases, non-integrated external indicates that you are using some device that is not directly connected to our software. EMV US is a Windows only solution. You can see the settings there. Stripe, Genius, and Meet in the Cloud are other ones that are supported through the back office. You'll know which of those you're going to use based off of talking to us or your settings otherwise. Store management has settings related to generally store information. There's kind of some miscellaneous things in here, so we're just going to run through it. Hide used in trade hides within the back office version, not within Windows or the iPad, the used fields and trade-in fields to the greatest extent possible. So if you do not do used in trades, you can turn that on and you will not see information about that. Company info 1234, that's typically the store name and then the address. Sometimes you'll have two address lines and then the city state zip. Sometimes you'll just have one address line and then that last line can be used for phone number or for email address. But typically this is printed, the company info one, the store name is printed on both labels and receipts. The full block is printed at the top of receipts. Customer MISC 1 and 2 name, that's just saying what the name of those MISC 1 and 2 fields are. It's purely informational for your sake. Rewards point style, you can pick whether customers get one reward point for each item they purchase or one reward point for each dollar they spend. The time clock time zone, that's when in the back office that determines what time zone to use for a lot of functions such as time clock. Automatically reindex database on back office login. This tells you how frequently you're going to do that. Reindexing takes a little longer on that login, but saves time overall as you do other things. Sort department and category by ID allows it in your drop down boxes, it'll be ordered by the ID instead of by the long description. Allow updating items at store level. That's an enterprise exclusive setting that allows your cashiers to modify items through the Windows client as well as through back office if you're using the Windows client. Logging the inventory value from the Windows client instead of back office will cause you to log it in Windows rather than it being logged automatically through our back office. Default to used for back office scans is when you're scanning an item anywhere that has a new used checkbox, that checkbox will be set to used if you have that option turned on. Audit quantity changes will require any employee who is modifying a quantity in inventory directly to put in a reason why, and it will log that reason so that you can prevent shrinkage. Auto-generate item numbers. This is for the back office. When you create a new item, it will fill in a random item ID automatically. You can still change it if you have one, but that's useful if you're setting up items that do not have a barcode. Auto-generate customer numbers will do the same thing as the auto-generate item numbers, just for customers. Default account active means when you're setting up a new customer, by default their account will be active. Default credit limit sets their default credit limit when you're creating a new customer. Default rewards member will turn on whether or not they are a rewards member by default when you're creating a new customer, with a default rewards expiration date that you can set there below. Default tax exempt and default text messaging will set those fields for customers by default. So all of those are customer defaults in that area. And then current date for reports for non-administrators means that employees who are not administrators, when they are running reports that can be filtered by a date range, can only run them for the current day. Broad Time is a reporting service. You can actually fill in your credentials there if you're wanting to report your inventory to Broad Time. Use vendor cost as default on purchase orders is to use the vendor's cost rather than just the overall cost. Prompt for the cost on purchase orders when adding the item will, rather than just using the default cost, will ask you the cost that you want to use automatically every time you add an item. Normally you can change that, but you have to hit the edit button first. Serial number POs indicates that when you order an item with a serial number, you want to record that at the time of purchase ordering it. So that happens when you receive it. Schedule type, you can select between resources and employees. That's for the appointments section of the software. Quick import is utilizing a vendor database. See our videos on those, but you can select what vendor databases you're quick importing from. And then import categories and departments from AC determines whether you are bringing in their departments and categories. Importing cost from AMS determines whether you're utilizing their cost. Under web new item defaults, there are a great many settings, but I'm not going to go over each individually. You can just determine whether or not you're using them. And then with each of these, it is a aspect of items that you can set to default a value to when you're creating a new item in the back office. So there are many of these fields, but they all effectively do the same thing, which is when you are just adding an item, what is the value before you start typing in? And then last but most certainly not least are the e-commerce settings. You will only have these if you are subscribed to the particular e-commerce integration. They are each covered in the videos on their respective integrations, so take a look at that to go through that in detail. But you at most will have one of these that's going to be relevant to you, so I'm not going to go through all of them here. Thank you for watching this video. We're going to go through the additional settings up here in the top right in the final video of the series.